The amount of waste in the ocean is growing every year, and there is no easy solution to this monumental problem. Many sea-loving people in Taiwan are now investing their time and energy to reduce marine waste. One group of pioneering women has developed a remote-control robot that picks up garbage in harbors. Elsewhere, a group of divers makes regular trips out to sea to manually retrieve waste. However, these solutions require a great investment of both time and money. Environmentalists hope to tackle the problem at the source through paid recycling and other incentives to stem the flow of waste into the sea. Let's hear what they have to say in our Sunday special report.
A truck equipped with a large crane sits on the dock at Keelung's Badouzi fishing harbor, carrying an ocean cleanup robot on its bed. Chia Chen, founder of Ocean Cleanup Initiative Azure Alliance, co-founded the company with the vision of restoring the ocean to its natural blue splendor. Since 2017, she and her partners have been behind a number of projects toward this aim, beginning with the development of their ocean cleaning robot, Jandou.
Our motivation in the beginning was simple. We found out that many of our harbors weren't being cleaned by anyone, and there weren't tools available for doing such cleanups. We thought, this is a dirty and difficult job, and nobody's doing it, so why don't we let a robot do the work? The first time we saw the robot collect waste, we thought, wow, this thing really can pick up garbage. It was then that we realized that this is a feasible solution and that it was worth pressing forward.
The team's first robot could only be used along the shore and had to be manually operated by a user. The second generation Jandou is remotely controlled and can find garbage on its own. Because Jandou floats on the water's surface, control of the robot is more difficult. Marine waste floating along with the ebbs and flows of the sea is collected by the robot's conveyor belt.
Look at
this little boat collecting waste. How much can it collect? I want to thank these young people for putting so much effort into developing this. Marine waste that otherwise would be impossible to retrieve can be retrieved with this little boat. However, all of the energy and money they put into this, is it comparable to what they get out of it?
The Fishers Association director feels the robot is not a cost-effective solution. Jandou cost 4.5 million NT to build, and the team currently operates 3 such boats, with corporate sponsorship. The 3 boats operate in rotation at 6 harbors throughout northern and central Taiwan.
We can collect 100 kilograms in one trip. If we send a boat out 8 times in a day, we can bring back about 800 kilograms of garbage. We hope to set a record of taking 1 ton of waste out of the sea in a single day.
Every time the boat is dispatched, the crane truck must be hired to bring it to the harbor. This makes collecting marine waste an expensive endeavor. Some estimates put the total amount of plastic waste in the sea at 150 million tons. If nothing is done, that number could double by 2030. From the air, the sky and sea on this day are gray, as if covered in a layer of ash. It's a sight to behold, but the waste scattered across the breakwater detracts from the sea's beauty. This other team, composed of certified divers, has another approach to cleaning up the seas. Theirs is a much more difficult operation, and their efforts put New Taipei and Keelung ahead of the rest of the country. They work with 20 scuba diving businesses, combining efforts to clean up the coastal waters and giving their all for the sea.
Last year we took 6 tons of garbage out of the water, but when the northeasterly monsoons blow in, or typhoons, all that garbage comes floating back. It happens every year without fail. When garbage piles up on the streets, people will pick that up. But when it comes to garbage on the seafloor, we have to rely on divers to go down there and bring it up.
Roughly a dozen divers head out to sea to collect waste. The task may appear to be a simple one, but when it takes them to the open sea, the difficulty is doubled. The ocean's unpredictable currents, the water pressure below the surface, and the physical strength of the divers are all factors.
潜水时间40分钟哈。
Today, they are working in waters behind the National Taiwan Ocean University in Keelung. The geography and currents here act like a whirlpool that collects waste. In 2021 alone, divers retrieved 6 tons of plastic bottles from these waters.
好，垃圾上，好，挖鞋上哦。第一次下去的时候，我们
The first time we went down, we found a garbage patch the size of several soccer fields, roughly 50 to 60 centimeters thick. Seeing such a thick patch of plastic bottles floating in the sea, I was nearly driven to tears.
After a 40-minute dive, the divers resurface one after the other.
那今天最特别的就是
The most interesting thing we found today was a Nokia cell phone. This phone must be over 15 years old. Look at this thing. If we didn't bring it up with us, it would just float in the ocean forever.
来整个拿过来倒好了。永远捡不完。其实源头管理。
The cleanup never ends. What we are doing now is like what teachers teach students in school, to clear rubbish no matter who threw it away. But cleaning doesn't get to the root of the problem. What we need to do now is to manage these waste materials at their source.
The most difficult type of marine waste to recover from the seabed is fishing nets. Nets can stretch more than 100 meters and weigh several hundred pounds, making them very difficult and dangerous to handle.
结果我们在外海是用大的30公升水桶。
Out at sea, we use large 30-liter water cans. We attach 3 or 4 of them to the net and then empty them out so that they're filled with air. This causes them to float to the surface. With the cans floating on the surface, we try to pull the net up onto the boat. But if we can't do that, we just drag it to shore with the boat. At the docks, we can use the crane to pull it out of the water.
According to United Nations statistics, environmental and human factors cause roughly 640,000 tons of fishing nets to enter the sea each year, accounting for 10% of all marine waste. Most of those nets are made from nylon, polyethylene, or some other non-biodegradable material.
那你可以想象上百公尺的这个渔网。
As you can imagine, a 100-meter-long fishing net is like a dead-end wall. Fish get stuck in it, and then it's impossible for them to free themselves.
In February 2022, a leatherback turtle appeared on a beach in New Taipei. This was the first time a living leatherback was found stranded on a beach in Taiwan, but it had been hurt badly after getting caught in a fishing net. The turtle was rushed to National Taiwan Ocean University for treatment, but it died the following day. An autopsy found pieces of burlap and plastic in the turtle's stomach.
绕的时间呢，大概有一段时间，大概有1周。
It was caught up in the net for a while, roughly a week. Its original wounds from the net kept getting reinfected.
它这个尼龙的都不会坏掉。
This nylon won't break down in the water. If you throw it into the sea, it will damage the ecosystem on the seabed. The coral down there gets covered up, which kills it.
At the largest distribution center for fishers in northern Taiwan, Keelung's Badouzi fishing harbor, a temporary drop-off point for discarded nets was set up. The waste nets here are already piled high.
其实年初这边已经清了大概2/3。
We cleared up about 2/3 of it at the start of the year, but within 2 or 3 months, it started to fill up again. We send the nets for recycling, but the recycling companies prefer the bottom gill nets and flow gill nets because their composition is comparatively simple.
Central and local governments hope to tackle the issue at the source to prevent more waste nets from entering the ocean. In 2021, they raised the rate paid for recycled fishing nets from 10 NT per kilogram to 15, hoping to create more incentive for recycling nets. Counties and municipalities all put aside space to store the nets. However, concerns have been raised over where the money for handling the recycled nets should come from.
Regarding the funding gap, let's take last year as an example, when we processed about 40 tons of recycled nets. Recycling 40 tons of nets cost us about 560,000 NT, which we applied to the central government for. So far this year, we've already had much more than 40 tons of nets get brought in. At the start of the year alone, we recycled 10 tons, and there was another 6 tons that couldn't be recycled. What you see in front of you right here is more than 100 tons. We need to find funding to process this 100-odd tons of nets.
Could we assist the industry by producing the fishing nets? If the nets still have value after they become waste, then fishers will be willing to bring them back into shore to resell. They won't think of them as taking up space on the boat or as a waste of fuel to bring them in. They don't want to spend their own money to bring in nets. Given this situation, what if private industry could deal with the nets? Then we wouldn't need to spend government money, tax money, on it.
Finding a solution to mounting marine waste is a global problem. Taiwanese environmentalists and officials hope they can tackle the problem at the source by encouraging the recycling of wasted fishing gear rather than discarding it at sea. They hope that through their efforts, they can protect marine life and ensure the sustainability of the fisheries.